Welcome to Positive Outcomes, where leaders turn hard-won experience into income, impact, and freedom.
Great. Hi, everyone. I am so excited for another show. Today, again, we are going to have an amazing person, Erin, with us. I have reviewed her, and I know that you are all going to learn. I always tell you guys at the beginning of the show, grab your papers, grab your pen. So we are all going to learn. And as you start, please go ahead and share. Okay. So welcome to Positive Outcomes, guys, where professionals and leaders turn their expertise into income, impact, and freedom. And of course, I am your host, Dr. Doreen. So today's guest is Erin O'Donnell, a 3-time founder with proven track records of building and scaling self-funded startups in financial services education, leveraging a B2B SaaS model to deliver innovative industry-specific learning solutions. She's also the co-author of Cannabis Banking, Legal Frameworks and Practical Solutions for Cultivating Compliance, published by Willie in 2025. Amazing. Congratulations. That's a
Thank you.
Erin's career blends over 3 decades of strategic event management, product innovation, and education, all fueled by her passion for empowering women in the industry. This is amazing. Erin, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dr. Doreen. It's great to be here.
We are super happy to have you here. So, Erin, let's get started. So take us back to what first really drew you to entrepreneurship and financial service education.
First drew me to entrepreneurship was I worked in San Francisco when I had just turned 30. I found myself in San Francisco in the late 90s in the .com era where Jamba Juice was a startup back then. So I found myself in Silicon Valley when Silicon Valley was just busting open with the beginning of what we know as all the tech companies there now. I had worked for a venture capital company and we planned events that brought entrepreneurs and investors together. They pitched their business ideas. I'm sure you've heard this model, but this was about 30 years ago when this was kind of new. And I thought, if these folks can start up their own company, why can't I? So that seed was planted in me early. Like, okay, what do you need? You need an accountant, you need an attorney, you need a product, you need a salesperson. The other thing that really drove me to starting my own business was as a mother of 3, when I entered back into the workforce after about 5 years of being at home with my kids, I found myself not at the same level I was at when I left. So for me, having my own company was really the only way that I felt I could become an executive. I really didn't feel like where I was coming back after maternity leave for so many years, I did not feel like I could plug back in and go. So I felt like I had to create my own opportunities.
That's amazing. You said something. You said, if these people can, if they can, why can't I? And then for some of the mothers that are listening to us, I know we all have amazing reasons and excuses. I have 5 kids and we have all these good reasons. We want to do this, we want to do this. But she said, if these people can do it, why can't I? And then she made the module suited for her. So talk to us a little bit more about the financial services.
So I started working at a financial service association doing education. And my father was a high school English teacher. My brother's a high school English teacher. So I come from a family of educators. And I thought, if I'm going to start a business, I'm going to take what I know, which is education and also event planning. So I've been a professional event manager for over 30 years. And I feel like event management is a profession that has come a long way.
Yes.
When I was first doing it, it was like, okay, they're the girls who order food and who make sure. But when I was working in the venture capital industry, 1/3 of our income for the entire company came from our events.
Wow.
So our event department was pretty important. And I started learning that, different types of jobs mean different things at companies. So yeah, that's just how I got started.
You said something that, and maybe it's my own ignorance about event planning. I always felt like it's just to order the food and bring it and people eat. But from what you
Yeah.
were saying, there are different aspects and areas of event planning, so you have to put it all together. And I can
Yes.
imagine that must be a lot of work.
It's a lot of work and it's a lot of revenue into companies. And there are standalone conferences now that they're not attached to any company. They're just a conference. So conferences themselves are becoming kind of micro businesses in their own right.
Right. That is so true. Amazing.
Yeah.
So you've been a 3-time founder.
hmm
Okay. What was your first venture and what lessons did you carry to the next ones?
My first venture was back in 2007, so almost 20 years ago now. And I started a company called Banker Stuff. And this was an online, just as WebEx and, GoToWebinar and all of that was sort of coming online, webinars were sort of new back then. So to me, to start a webinar business means I didn't need an office. I needed a phone, I needed a computer and an internet connection. And I needed to know people. I needed to know speakers. And then we had to have an audience as well. You know, bringing those together, what I've learned, what I've learned and what I've traded. What
Right.
I've learned is sadly to keep my cards closer to the vest to protect myself a little more. Throughout these 20 years, we have run into people who are not the nicest or the best people out there. So I
Oh,
have run into a few like that in these 20 years. And I've learned just not to wear my heart on my sleeve so much. But I think what I've traded off is that passion and that youth and the exuberance of being so excited about having your own company. And like, I remember I'd talk to anyone who would listen about my idea. I would just talk to them. It didn't matter. I'd have calls all day. I didn't know where it was going, but so I think I've learned some hard lessons, but I'm a lot smarter now. But I try not to let the people that I have interacted with who weren't the greatest, I try
right.
not to let them change who I am.
That's amazing. That's really amazing. And what was the transition like? What happened? Like, how did you transition from the first, the second to the third? That's amazing because I'm asking this because I have a lot of viewers that I
Mhm,
feel like once you fail or once you didn't do it right the first time, the world comes to an
mhm,
end. So
mhm.
how did you transition from the first one, the second one, and the third one?
Yeah. So the first one was successfully acquired. So we learned how to build something that somebody else wanted to buy. And that's, when you're starting your own business, it could be a lifestyle business. Like, hey, I just want to do this business for me. I want to have enough money for my life. I don't need to make it so that somebody else wants to buy it. But we did actually sell successfully both of our businesses.
Wow.
So the first one was acquired. And then the second one, we just kind of did a similar type of online education company. Now, the third one, and that one was also acquired successfully about 2 years ago. So that was a bank education company called Bankers Hub.
Uh-huh.
And then what we did at that point was we sold everything except our cannabis content and we let go of Bankers Hub and we decided just to go fully into cannabis banking. And so that's what we've been doing for the last 2+ years.
What lessons did you learn during the process?
The first lesson I learned was, when you're excited about your new company, it's like, hey, come work with me. I'll make you a partner. I'll give you equity. Stop. Make sure you understand who you're bringing on board up front and who you're tossing equity out to. Because they might not have the same idea that you do about this business. This might be a side hustle for them, but a main hustle for you. Don't just hire your friends because you like working with them. Although enjoying working with people when you're starting up a company is really important. My business partner and I are opposites, but we agree on the core values of our business. So he's great with spreadsheets, with analysis, and I'm better with business development. Yeah. And then the third thing I would say is get a good accountant and get a good attorney and protect
Wow.
yourselves.
She just packed a bunch of nuggets together. You have to still do your due diligence. You
Mhm.
have to still vet every single person. You have to have an attorney and an accountant and compliance wise. You want to go and
Mhm.
see who these people are because we are talking about business, money, quality, outcomes.
Mhm.
Wow. I love that. That is super amazing.
Good.
So cannabis banking is, this is the first time I heard when I was going through your profile. It's
Mhm.
such a unique space. What did you realize? When did you realize that this was an area that needed both advocacy and education?
So, through our second company, Bankers Hub, we did a lot of training in the cannabis banking area. And what we found was because of the federal illegality of cannabis, that states that were banking cannabis completely legally were having trouble, those cannabis operators were having trouble getting bank accounts because there wasn't much guidance. And
Right.
bankers, financial institutions are really looking for guidance from the
Uh,
regulators, but the
oh,
federal regulators weren't on board yet because it's not so this was an industry that just was in a conundrum.
um,
It's been 10 years now, and
mhm,
we're from the Association for Cannabis Banking. We would love to see rescheduling. Actually, we'd love to see descheduling and have it be legal federally
mhm,
because banks are not jumping in as quickly as they might because there's no safe harbor for financial services institutions. So you might
right.
hear the Safer Banking Act,
Uh-huh.
you might hear that federally. That's just the federal government saying, we're not going to prosecute banks, financial institutions, credit unions that bank cannabis. We're going to leave you alone. Now, I will say,
Wow.
and that's what banks need to get on board. Now, not a single banker has gone to prison for banking cannabis. It's within a high risk framework within a
Uh-huh.
financial institution. But there's so few banks that really feel like going out on a limb right now is what
Mhm,
they would
mhm.
like to do. But we're here to encourage all financial institutions to think about it.
I love that. I love that creating the awareness because I
Mhm.
think that part of it is the awareness. Part of it is that people don't know it's out there. They're not. So talking about it, like we're having it on the podcast, just talking about it, creating the awareness and spread the news. And
Mhm.
you literally wrote a book on cannabis banking,
Yes.
right? What gaps were you aiming? Like, what were you aiming to fill with this? Like,
Mhm.
this is just amazing.
First of all, we were aiming to have cannabis operators, the dispensaries, the growers, to read this and understand what their banks or credit unions are facing on their end. These are two Cannabis and banking are two heavily regulated industries. So there's going to be a lot of lawyers, a lot of regulations, a lot of scrutiny on these industries. So we wanted to reach the industry itself and say, hey, this is what bankers are going through right now. This is our history. This is why we can't just make this easy. So we wanted the cannabis operators to read the book and understand where the bankers are coming from. We also wanted the banks and credit unions to read the book and go, okay, there is a framework here that our institution could easily jump into and start banking cannabis. So those were the two audiences that we really wanted to educate with that.
Wow. So what has been the biggest challenge I have to ask that in pioneering solutions in such a complex and highly regulated landscape?
The biggest issue for us is that there's a lot of misunderstanding. People, unless you really stop and think and understand why this is happening, that's the biggest issue is just bringing people up to the basic level that, hey, there's a problem with financial institutions because it's federally illegal. That's it. So just kind of conveying that message, I think, is really important.
How do you see them intersecting in helping the maturity of this industry?
I think that when you're educated about something, um, you seek to understand it. So being ignorant about something simply means you don't know.
Right,
Ignorance is not a negative or a positive. It just means absence of knowledge.
right.
So to create that knowledge and to say, this information's here, it's important, that's really a challenge. Trying to let the financial services industry know, convey that to them somehow that this isn't impossible. In fact,
Right.
it's completely possible. So I
Yes.
think just starting from you can do this and here's how. That's
Yeah.
sort of been the toughest part.
Where do you see the biggest opportunity again for innovation right now when it comes to the financial services and the cannabis banking?
I
Where
think
is like biggest opportunity?
I think the biggest opportunity is in the discussions that we're having as an industry. So we just had an event here. Our association is headquartered in the beautiful state of New Mexico. And yeah, it's gorgeous here. We
Uh,
just had a conference this past summer and the industry really came out. We had regulators, we had bankers, we had credit union professionals, we had cannabis operators all under one roof talking about their challenges. We had cannabis operators say, "Hey, why aren't you banking me? I don't understand." So we literally had a lot of moments together as multiple players in the industry to come together and say, we all want this to happen. How can we work together? And to me, that's the biggest thing because the industry is pretty small right now. The
uh,
cannabis banking industry, there's 700 or 800 financial institutions that proactively bank cannabis. So there's not that many. That's less than 10%. So we want to bring this awareness and we want to bring this industry together and to talk, not just to have us talk to others, but to have others talk to us too.
Right, exactly. And you being here is just part of creating that awareness and
Yeah.
talking more about it. And I personally, is something that I was not very knowledgeable about.
Mhm.
So this is actually very helpful
Right.
to me. So for someone who is listening right now and is considering launching a startup in
Mhm.
this kind of heavily, highly regulated industry, right? What are the first steps that you would recommend?
It's easy for us. Our customers are banks and credit unions, and we've been servicing that industry for over 20 years. But who's going to buy your product and why? And how do you find those people? And then the next step, I think, would be looking at the industry that you want to be in. It's heavily regulated. So something like education is important because as regulations change, the professionals in that industry need to understand. So with banking, for example, if anything changed regulatory wise, education is the perfect way to convey those changes. So, understanding, are you a B2C? Are you a B2B? Who are you going to get to? Looking at that industry, finding your competition is really important. Because if you don't have any, I would say you may be in trouble. If you don't
Yes,
have any competition in your industry,
yes.
so competition's not a bad thing. Actually, I
Mhm.
find competition, if there is competition, you're onto something. It kind of reminds me of that female doctor who started Lumi,
Yes,
whole body deodorant.
yes,
She
yes.
created an entire market out of that idea, and now everybody's doing
It's
it.
doing the same thing. You nailed it, right? For me, I have a supplement brand called Doreen's Cleanser Therapy.
Yeah.
And you said it, and I want everybody listening to us right now to know that I looked for my competitors. I looked at what they were doing. I looked at their business strategies. I looked at what is out there. But that didn't scare me because that's like part of the need assessment that we
Mhm.
have to do to know that we have to go into this business, right? And that will make you to create yours and even make it better. so,
Mhm.
so that you can outsmart them.
Right.
So that's amazing. So
Yeah.
how do you personally balance risk and vision when starting a new venture?
Yeah, that's rough. That's a tough question. Risk wise, I've been an entrepreneur for 20 years now. And to me, it's a bigger risk going and working for someone else because I'm at their mercy. Like if they don't want me one day, I'm gone. For me, it's a risk working at a company because my destiny is in someone else's hands. And at any moment, I could be gone or I have to sell my vision all the time. So to actually be unencumbered makes the vision part fun and easy. And like you said, Dr. Doreen, it's when you look at the needs assessment and you find out who else is out there, it's sort of like the idea of agile. Like I'm going to get feedback. And this is to answer your question too, the,
Mhm.
the risk. Also be brutal to yourself, be
Mm,
brutal and look at your website. I can't find anything on my own website, like be your own
yeah.
harshest
Hold
critic.
yourself accountable.
Yes. And listen to the feedback that's out there, because whether you hear it or not, it is out there. So
Wow.
taking in that feedback and saying, hey, I'm not going to, we just did a conference and it was like, how can we make this better? I'm going to listen. I want to hear the worst, because that's the truth that I'm maybe not telling myself.
Amazing. Wow. Feedback, feedback, feedback.
Yes.
Taking. And sometimes,
Open.
right, Erin, some of this feedback, we don't want to hear it. Especially it would touch your ego in a very tough
It
spot.
hurts,
It hurts,
but
but
it
that's
helps.
growth. Yes, that's growth. That
Kind of
is
like when
growth.
you work out, your muscles
Yes.
hurt, but that's how
Yep.
you know you're growing.
Exactly.
So face that feedback. Don't dread it. Want it. Want people to
Exactly.
tell you the truth.
Yes. Oh, absolutely love that. Want people to tell the truth. And even add to that, go out and seek for feedback.
Speak
Go
it.
out and ask for feedback. How am I doing? What do you think about it? And
Brutal.
be brutal and be ready to
Please.
be ready to
Yeah.
hear and accept what people tell you and go and act on it. Go and do something
Yeah.
with it.
And
So,
yeah, and you can say, "Hey, I disagree." And but no, what did so if somebody gives you feedback, you might disagree, but think about it. Why do I disagree with it? Can I articulate that, or am I just mad and, my heart's been broken and I can't hear it because I know it's true maybe.
yes,
So
exactly.
approach it very objectively
Right.
and thank people for it. Thank you
Wow.
for telling me what I'm not doing right,
Yes.
because
That
your
is
best friends won't tell you this.
right. And you don't want to be around everybody that say yes to you. You want to be around people that will pull you. Yeah.
Push back, push
Yes.
back, push back.
Amazing. So what excites you about your next? What's next now? What is the next step? What is the next phase?
What I really love about where we're at with the cannabis banking is because cannabis is something that is in the news a lot. It is a billion-dollar industry that pretty much popped up out of nowhere. I love the cannabis industry because, we always tell Gen Z, get out of the basement, get away from your video games. Well, this is a place for Gen Z to go out and actually talk to people and work with people and help people. So these are great jobs. It's a wonderful industry. And I think what I would really love to do is help people understand that this isn't a nefarious industry. This isn't drug dealing. This is
No.
really medicine that helps people. And most Americans want this to be legalized.
Mm,
We're just ready for this to happen.
yes.
I really want to see cannabis. I don't want to tell people to embrace it, but I want to say learn about it,
Right.
understand it, and I we would love to see this just
I
become
can see
the
I
way
can
it
see the
deserves.
excitement.
Yeah,
I can
I'm
feel the
ready to take
excitement.
off. I know.
I can feel the excitement in your face as you're talking about it. And yes, everybody has an opportunity to use this. It's very good for our health. Speaking from a
Mhm.
medical perspective, I've had patients, I've seen cases where we've tried everything, but this was the last resort and it worked amazingly. So
Yeah,
I really want to recommend, people to really, don't be so close-minded. Open your mind and listen
understand
to
it
it. Understand
and
it.
then criticize it, but
Yeah.
understand it first.
Exactly. There are some states where this is legal, right? What are those?
Many, many states. So 41 states right now are operating cannabis legally.
Oh, that's 41.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
41. I didn't know it was
Uh-huh.
that many.
It's
That
many. It's most. Yeah,
most of them, yeah. Way most of them. So that's really, really good,
it is.
That's really, really good. So as we are wrapping up, do you want to share how people can get a hold of you, how to get your book so that they can go out
Absolutely.
there and check it out? And if anyone want to have more information and get a hold of you?
Yeah. So you can visit our website. It's www.the, as in THE, dash ACB.com. That's Association for Cannabis Banking. Our number's there. And I've got our book. It's been an Amazon #1 bestseller for accounting, for cannabis, and as a new release. So this is available on Amazon. So yeah, and
Amazing.
it's really meant, you don't have to be a banking expert to understand this book. It's really meant to be more conversational. But there
Right.
are a couple chapters that really get down into the nitty-gritty.
Right.
But yeah, for the most part, you don't need to understand banking or finance to read it.
Amazing. So just listeners, get the book, share it so that we can spread this and create that awareness that Erin talked about so people can understand that this industry is something that is here to help. And I know for sure that it's going to be here for a long, long run. So as we are wrapping up, we always end our episode with what is the one thing, I know you've had many, many positive outcomes, right? What is that one positive outcome that you are proud of and what took you to get there?
I think the positive outcome I've had is that through being an entrepreneur and creating my own companies, I've been able to really stay connected to my kids. Every
One.
day when they came home, they're all in their 20s now, but like they would come home and I would be home. And, it just enabled me to stay close to them. It also enabled me to show them that you can do anything you put your mind to.
That's amazing. I just, as a mom, I want to understand, were they quite, like, how did you manage the younger kids when
Mhm.
you came back to work? I know as I was wrapping up, but questions always just pop up in
It
my
was
head as we are
it
talking.
was tough. It was tough. I mean, up until they were really little, I was at home with them, but I was kind of one of those remote workers way early on. And I think remote working is good for parents. It gives you a little extra time, gives you a
Right.
little extra flexibility to get the kids out. Now, I will say I've had to dole out some cold hard cash to get them out of my office for a few minutes too. But you know, you just it's nice that they can see you working and that they can see that work doesn't have to be your whole life. You can blend it. So yeah, being the mom though, I've definitely had my turn at having to get to a job at 8 o'clock and driving 3 kids to 3 different places in the morning. And, waking up early and going to sleep late is about the only thing you can do to manage through. But those years do come to an end,
That's amazing.
as hard as that is too, but
Yes.
they
So,
do.
so the moms, they're growing. So the moms listening to us, because I know I speak to a lot of moms, including
Mhm,
myself. At some point in my life, when my kids were younger, I had to work night shift. I had to say,
mhm.
okay, because I had to come home and do all this stuff. But we're saying that it's just taking the first step, just starting.
Yes,
And as you start, for some reason, once you get started, Erin, please, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Things just fall in place.
they do. You make it happen.
Yeah.
If you want it to happen, you can make it happen.
Right.
It,
Correct.
it might not be easy, but if you want it, you can get it.
What is the greatest lesson that you have learned in this life?
I think the quote that I always go back to, my favorite quote is Oscar Wilde, and that is the smallest good deed is better than the grandest good intention. So if you can help somebody even just a little teeny tiny bit, do it. Like you might not think it's that big of a deal, but just doing something small, and I mean holding the door for someone and smiling and looking at someone you never met before and saying, I'm a good person, I'm a friendly person, I'm a loving person. Be kind and just do a little thing. Let somebody in front of you in traffic and smile at them. You won't believe how people respond to that. They're like, what? Seriously? Just do little tiny things and make this world a better place that way.
Wow, just amazing. I just love it. Thank you so, so much for your time. I have notes. We have a lot to work on. I have learned if people cannot do it, you can do it. Take the first step, start doing it. Things will fall in place. Vet the people that are working with you. Have a lawyer, have an accountant. I mean, the nuggets are just on and on and on. And this Gen Zs that have opportunities in this industry, go to her website, get her book. Let us create the awareness together. So thank you all for watching. Remember to follow and share. Goodbye.
I love it. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Positive Outcomes. Follow the show and share this episode to inspire someone's next chapter.